1925 to 1942, birth and early years. On the 24th of June 1925, the world saw its first Leaving Cert Applied Maths exam question. At the higher level, the first part of the initial question was, what is meant by work, power, 1 horsepower? This is a suitable opening question for this exam because according to the NCCA, Leaving Cert Applied Mathematics is based on mathematical physics. So, in short, applied maths is mathematical physics, or more precisely, Newtonian mechanics. The first exam consisted of 9 questions, from which students were to answer 6. In the first exam, the author did not use the metric system and was somewhat loose at times. For example, in the ordinary level exam, the first question opens with a force of 14.54 units, with units left unspecified. Also, no marks were listed for the questions. As we step into the next year, 1926, we already see the exam becoming more familiar to a modern reader. The exam formatting looks more modern already, with 8 well-spaced out questions. However, again, no marks were indicated except for a mention that questions 5 to 8 carry more weight at higher levels. Students were now to answer 5 questions. Interestingly, all questions carried equal marks at the ordinary level. In 1928, marks were finally added to the questions, clarifying how much each question was worth, with most questions being worth approximately the same. Nothing much radically changed over the years until 1931, when a choice was introduced to a question 1 at the higher level paper. Students were given the option to do this or that for question 1, and the marking was replaced with a note that all questions carried equal marks. Also, there were now 10 questions at both higher and ordinary level. By 1933, this choice was already gone, a short-lived innovation. It is worth noting that in 1934, the first significant diagram was given in a question, a joint system in the connected particle question. For the rest of the 1930s, the exam remained rather standard, with no major changes until 1940, when both levels had 9 questions and students were to answer 6. The situation worsened by 1942, when another question was removed, leaving 8 questions, but students were now to answer only 5. In 1943, the number of questions jumped back up to answering 6 from 9. 1943 to 1970, growth into maturity. From 1943 until 1970, the exam remained very fixed, with students required to answer 6 questions out of 9. In 1964, a familiar diagram depicting blocks being dragged by strings over pulleys on an inclined plane appeared. In 1966, more diagrams began to appear in the exam. It's worth noting that as of yet, the metric system was not fully used, thus the exam still felt old and outdated to a modern reader. 1971 to 2011, the 40 golden years. In 1971, what most think of as the Leaving Cert Applied Maths finally arrived. The exam consisted of 10 questions of equal marks, with students required to answer 6 questions. The metric system was now used, and some diagrams were included, giving the exam a more familiar structure too. For example, question 1 focused mostly on linear motion, while question 10 delved into ordinary differential equations. 2012 to 2022, that is near the final years. In the 2012 paper, for the first time, an ODE question related not to motion but to temperature appeared. In 2013, the ODE question now had 3 parts, A, B and C. By 2015, an economics ODE question replaced the motion ODE question, a rather shocking change in the history of the paper. By 2017, it became clear that students might not have as strong a calculus background due to the project maths changes, so more hints were given in the ODE question. 2018 saw the return of a non-motion ODE question, again in 2021 and 2022. The trend continued. 2023, rest in peace. Finally, in 2023, the exam underwent radical changes, resembling more a project maths exam, complete with boxes for writing answers. The exam now featured non-physics questions and contained graph theory questions suitable for computer science. The link to mathematical physics was now broken. Why did this happen though? According to an NCCA paper, over the years, possibly because of the content overlap between it and Leaving Cert Physics, the subject has become a popular option for male students taking higher level mathematics and physics. Chosen by less than 3% of the Leaving Certificate cohort annually, less than 500 of whom are girls, approximately 90% of applied mathematics candidates sit the exam at higher level, and in excess of 25% of these students achieve an A grade. As noted on careerportal.ie, aside from niche languages such as Latin, Russian and Japanese, this means that applied maths has the highest A percentage in the Leaving Cert. This record leads to the perception that only the top students in the country choose applied mathematics, and the Irish Applied Mathematics Teacher Association note that this perception will stand favourably to students when attending interviews for high-profile jobs in the near future. That's what the NCCA paper had to say. So, in conclusion, I will paraphrase what the NCCA is reporting. Applied maths is too heavy on content, too narrow in its demographic appeal, and too beneficial to those who take it. It is elite and not equitable.